Grandparents, golfers, and traveling salespeople, pay attention. We have a comparison test for, let's say, a more traditional type of car buyer.
That's right, so today we've got a pair of highway queens aimed at people who want the most car, the most comfort, all for the tightest price.
Two forgettable full-size sedans have been given a new lease on life. So which one's better, the Toyota Avalon or the Chevrolet Impala? Yes, Toyota still makes the Avalon. It is the manufacturer's full-size car, slotted above the mid-size Camry. Power comes from a 3.5-liter V6 making 268 horsepower and 248 pound-feet of torque. It sends all this power to the front wheels through a 6-speed automatic. The Avalon Limited is rated at 21 miles per gallon in the city and 31 miles per gallon on the highway. During our time with the car, we averaged an even 24 miles per gallon. Since there is no regular 4-cylinder engine option like found in the Impala, pricing starts a bit higher at $32,150, while our fully loaded limited model came in at $42,410 after destination charges.
Pricing starts at $27,670, and our fully loaded test model costs $41,735, including delivery. The base price gives you a 2.5-liter 4-cylinder engine, although our car comes equipped with a 3.6-liter V6, and that's really the one to pick. It makes 305 horsepower and 264 pound-feet of torque. That power is sent to the front wheels via a 6-speed automatic transmission, and fuel economy is estimated to come in at 19 miles per gallon in the city, 29 on the highway, or 22 overall.
Neither the old Impala nor the Avalon were much to look at, and both manufacturers have made a huge effort to make the new offerings much more stylish.
You know, aesthetics are really a personal thing, and personally speaking, I think that the Impala is much better looking. But the point here is that both cars are significantly improved in terms of style compared to the generation that they replace.
We have the limited model on hand here, and that adds some nice elegant touches like the quad HID headlights and the LED daytime running lights.
Really, it's pretty much the same story with the Impala. The LTZ trim is Chevrolet's top tier, and in this case, it brings items like HID headlights, heated side mirrors, and bigger wheels. Truth be told, both of these cars have plenty of curb appeal in pretty much any trim level though, so let's go inside and see what they're all about.
The Avalon is coated in leather-like wrapped surfaces featuring expensive materials. It's a much nicer place to be than inside the Impala. And although Luke doesn't like the no-button touch interface dominating the center console, I quite like it. Curiously though, there's giant knobs for both the volume and the tuning. The only real complaint I have inside this vehicle has to do with the telescopic steering wheel. I find it doesn't come out far enough for my liking. The Toyota Avalon is as much for passengers as it is for the driver. Our vehicle is the top-of-the-line Limited, so it has heated rear seats and 3-zone climate control, features not found in the Impala. Rear seat space between the two cars is pretty similar, although the Avalon's 39.2 inches does come about a half-inch short to the Impala. When it comes to the trunk, the Impala is much larger, but the Avalon still does offer an acceptable 16 cubic feet total.
I'll hand it to Mike. The Avalon does have the more premium feeling of the two cabins. You know, things like the teal stitching in this car are less stylish than a worn-out Landau top. But for the most part, I actually prefer the Impala's cabin. It's better laid out, it's easy to use, and I just generally like the styling more. And besides, some of the small things that you get in this car that you can't have in the Avalon, to me, just put it miles ahead. For example, I get a panoramic sunroof, so people who are riding in the back are going to have a more airy feeling. It's just going to create a sense of openness that the other car doesn't have. Also, I hate wearing gloves, and in the winter, I can get a heated steering wheel in here. To me, that makes all the difference. There are a couple of little fit and finish issues, like, for example, this compartment down here by my left knee is proving to be kind of hard to close. You know, it takes a couple of pushes, and that kind of sucks, but for the most part, other things like having a 3-prong outlet in the back just make such a difference. Also, you know, I talked about this the first time that we drove this car, and I just can't get over the secret compartment hiding behind the touchscreen. I think it's so cool, and it's worth noting that in valet mode, when you leave the car behind at a restaurant, you can keep valuables in there, and the key that you give the guy won't actually let him open it. Finally, this car has a little bit more rear seat legroom, but the big winner is the fact that it has 18.8 cubic feet of trunk space, and that's a huge increase over the Avalon and just big in general.
The Avalon is not an exciting car to drive, nor is it meant to be. It's designed to just eat up mile after mile of highway, and this vehicle does a very good job at that, especially when the adaptive cruise control is set. The steering is overboosted and meant to be really light, as low steering effort is more important than steering feel in a car like this. The car has ample power. It may give up almost 40 horsepower to the Impala, but it is also nearly 400 pounds lighter. And on the road between the two, you can't really tell a difference in straight line speed. There are two main issues I have with the Avalon though. The first has to do with the brakes. They require far too much effort to engage, and when they do, there's no sort of linear progression to the amount you're pressing on the pedal to how much the car will stop. It took me forever to get used to this in stop and go traffic. The other issue is the suspension. It's set up a little too much on the firm side for my liking. This is a full-size car meant for highway cruising, and every expansion joint and bump in the road can be felt through the whole car.
It's been a little over a year since I took my first test drive in this car, and even now, I'm still pretty impressed with the way it handles. Out of the two between this and the Avalon, it's hands down the better car to drive. Now, the things that really do matter with a full-size sedan are power, ride, comfort, and to a perhaps lesser extent, fuel economy. And this car is really actually getting just about the same gas mileage as the Avalon, a little bit worse, but considering how much heavier it is and the extra power that the engine makes, it's really sort of excusable. The city driving tends to be one of the areas where cars like this really do show their weaknesses. They're big and sort of difficult to handle in tight situations. Again, out of the two, the Impala is just better. For me, I feel like I'm sitting farther back in the chassis in this car, and that makes it easier to predict where I am, and I just have a better sense of space, which means a lot. This may sound funny, but the side view mirrors are a little bit bigger, and again, it just makes this car more hospitable and easier to get used to. The electrically boosted steering still feels kind of artificial, but I can get past that. And it's interesting and worth noting that this car is actually built on the same platform as the Cadillac XTS. It uses the same engine, and so you're kind of getting a discount on what would otherwise be a much more expensive and premium car. Both the Avalon and the Impala are competitive in their segments and represent huge improvements over their previous generations.
As good as they both are though, the Impala is cheaper, bigger, almost as efficient, and it offers more power.
And if you're shopping for a full-size sedan, isn't that exactly what you want? I'd say so. I think Mike would agree, and that's why we're giving the Impala the win.